Hello, I am the Script Doctor, and today I'm going to tip my hat to the great Walter Mosley. On Friday, the New York Times published an op-ed by award winner Walter Mosley titled, "Why I Quit the Writer's Room." A number of YouTubers have made videos about this article and the behavior of the Star Trek Discovery Writer's Room, and I recommend seeking them out. But here, on my channel, I'm going to go a bit further. You see, Walter Mosley's story is about how a writer's room is supposed to be a safe space. Now you may be wondering why I use the term safe space. Well, I use it under its original definition. A safe space is not an area where nothing bad can be said or an area to protect one from being triggered. That is not a safe space, that is a thought prison. A safe space is a place without consequence. In the context of a writer's room, it is a place where you can express your personal stories and experiences without sugarcoating them. You can inhabit a character you and your team are developing and spew out any pleasant or vile phrases that you think would better define this character without repercussions. It is a place of exploration. It is not always pleasant. There are responsibilities and deadlines. It can be stressful and frustrating. And anyone that is truly human knows that sometimes a few derogatory words can relieve a little bit of that stress. Otherwise, it becomes bottled up, and when that sucker explodes, a lot more people, including yourself, are going to get hurt. It is a place where so long as you are not physically assaulting or attacking a coworker fueled by negative behavior such as hate or anger, anything goes. If you as a writer are not comfortable in that type of real safe space, then 1, you are not a writer, and 2, get the out of this business. You do not belong in this industry. You are wasting valuable space for someone who has the conviction and fortitude to tell stories. You are taking a job away from someone else. You. But if you're a person who believes that the safe space I described earlier is a place dedicated to freedom of expression and openness to work as Walter Mosley believes, then you are what the industry needs. Just because this safe space exists does not give way to it being abused. Not every writer is going to go nuts spouting off racial slurs because they can. They're going to do it only when it is necessary. That is what being professional is. Star Trek Discovery boasts about having a diverse writer's room. There are a lot of shows that do. However, diversity doesn't exist if there's no diversity thought, if there's no value with wisdom and experience beyond the flesh. That is not real diversity, that is tokenism. The writer's room of Star Trek Discovery is far more groupthink. A collective. A single mind dictating the actions of many. If only there was an example that could be shown to best depict the dangerous behavior they display. So, Walter Mosley said a word that made someone feel uncomfortable, and that person went to Human Resources to complain. They didn't talk to Mr. Mosley about it. They hid from him and went to Mom. That type of behavior tells me, and evidently Mr. Mosley, that this person was in the wrong. If you are in a working environment such as a writer's room, and you have something you want to say to a colleague about their behavior that you find inappropriate, you say it to them. You say it publicly. If you can't say it publicly, then you are in the wrong. And if you argue, "Well, I don't want to embarrass the person among their peers," then you are a fucking coward and still in the wrong. It's not about their embarrassment, it's about you conveying something you think is important and sticking to your convictions. You should not care about the other person's feelings when it comes to those matters. This is about professionalism. As a writer, your job relies on the ability to roll with the punches, set a standard for yourself, and hopefully raise the level of quality of those around you. It is a friendly competition where if everyone does their best, the entire team wins. This person uncomfortable with the story Mr. Mosley told does not think of themselves as part of a team. They only think of themselves. And so they went to HR, and that department called Mr. Mosley. To quote, "He said very nicely that I could not use that word except in a script. I could write it, but I could not say it." Heaven forbid this uncomfortable writer go on set to hear the actor utter such a word while in character. My God, man, that actor would get a call from HR about saying such a word that made someone on set uncomfortable, regardless of the context that he or she is playing a fictional character. But say you argue, "Script doctor, it's an actor playing a role. They don't mean those words." To which I reply, to someone who would contact HR about any word does not understand context. For if they did, HR would not have been called in the first place, and a great writer would not contemplate leaving a show because of it. Mr. Mosley goes on, I do not believe that it should be the object of our political culture to silence those things said that make some people uncomfortable. My answer to HR was to resign and move on. I was in a writer's room trying to be creative while at the same time being surveilled by unknown critics who would snitch on me to a disembodied voice over the phone. My every word would be scrutinized. Sooner or later, I'd be fired or worse, silenced. I will say this. Snitch is not the right word for this. Snitch would imply that he did something wrong, but he did not. He was complained about, not snitched, and he was done so as a form of intimidation to silence him, perhaps because the very story he was recounting in the writer's room drew an allegory that was beyond the capabilities of the rest of the staff and made them feel like the fakes that they are. In this matter, they won. They may not have silenced Walter Mosley entirely, but they got the result they wanted. They got him out. But as a result, the show and us as an audience will suffer if we watch more of the trite that they produce. The worst thing you can do to citizens of a democratic nation is to silence them. And the easiest way to silence a woman or a man is to threaten his or her livelihood. Let's not accept the McCarthyism of secret condemnation. To succeed in silencing someone is to condemn them to a living death. When their voice cannot be heard, they cannot share their experience. They cannot enact change. They cannot defend themselves or others. It is a form of non-physical execution. It is crossing a line that should never be crossed. I tip my hat to Walter Mosley, who knows the value of free speech and expression so well that he is confident enough to not bolster or contribute to those that would silence others. To walk away from a toxic environment filled with thin-skinned cowards in a state of arrested development and to call out such anti-freedom behavior is brave and inspiring. I'm glad for this because he will most likely get a nice public bump from this event. People who otherwise never heard of Walter Mosley will seek out his work, and I am certain this event will inspire a fantastic science fiction story. If not with a Star Trek show, then perhaps a book, movie, or something else far better than Star Trek Discovery. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and never forget, it all starts with the script.